local index will be hoping to benefit from a positive session this morning, with global markets brushing off the US GDP miss and the tech shares faring well after strong US corporate earnings reports. Matete Tulare is the head of the FX execution at the Rand Merchant Bank, and he joins us now for a brief look at how the JSE is performing in early trade. Mr. Tulare, the Rand breaching that 16 Rand mark against the dollar at some point yesterday. Talk us through the morning's moves and what the focus could potentially be on.
Good morning, Holly. Happy Friday. I suppose not so happy for the Rand if you think about it. I mean, we're headed for a 9th consecutive day of losses. A streak that we last posted in August 2016. I mean, the Rand has dropped, this past couple of days about close to 9%. And that's actually erased the year-to-date gains versus the dollar. We managed to touch a high of 16.12 yesterday, which is levels we last saw in December 2021. Now, the Rand, unfortunately, has been hurt by a lot of global emerging market sentiment, which is negative, along with the exit of investors from our local resources as commodity prices have somewhat eased. I mean, if you think about gold, at some point or another, we were very north of $2,000, and that's retreated quite somewhat, and also compounded by local issues such as the Eskom's, electricity supply issues. But for the month of April, we've seen the Rand pull back about 7.8%. That's making us the second worst performing emerging market currency. Though this morning we've managed to claw back some of yesterday's losses. I mean, we are opening up at 15.88, and I suppose we'll see how the momentum carries on throughout the day as we close the month of April.
Yeah, let's talk about South Africa's private sector credit, which grew by 5.89% year on year, and this was in March of 2022, exceeding those market expectations, or should I say consensus. Talk us through what this data measures and what drove the growth we are seeing.
Look, I mean, private sector credit obviously has risen by 5.8% year on year. I mean, after rising 3.6% in February. These numbers were released by the central bank earlier this morning. Now, the broadly defined measure of money supply increased by 8.4% in March, after expanding about 6.4% in Feb. Now, as you rightfully say, the reading was above market expectations, which is marking the 9th straight month of increases in private sector credit, and it's the strongest rise since August 2020. Now, South African household and businesses' appetite to take out loans is growing, as general economic conditions obviously are normalizing under the new level COVID restrictions. But what we need to really be cautious about is that the ongoing interest rate hiking cycle that we are seeing from the Reserve Bank locally could make customers wary of piling on more debt, especially in the face that we've got electricity supply issues, and also the employment prospects, become really fickle, especially with the rising jobless rate that we have seen come through over the past couple of months.
Yeah, let's talk some company news. MTN Nigeria publishing its results for the quarter, which ended on the 31st of March 2022. How are their numbers?
So look, I mean, Nigeria, contributes about 3% of the overall MTN group revenue. The financial performance there in this past quarter was really underpinned by strong commercial momentum. Also, that's been driving growth across key MTN revenue lines. And obviously, some of the key metrics from today's announcement include the fact that their mobile subscribers have declined by about 1.3 million to about 70 million year on year, which is obviously impacted by all the restrictions in terms of regulation on new SIM card sales and also activation that we have seen out in Nigeria. Another line item that was quite interesting was the fact that capital expenditure in this past period was up 80% off a low base last year. And it just shows you the aggressive coverage expansion that they are going into Nigeria to try and capture growth opportunities They want to focus on 4G network and 5G network, and also increase coverage in the rural areas of Nigeria. So obviously, we have seen active data users. I mean, this is the new thing that obviously we're seeing across the world. I mean, active data users there increased by about 3.4 million users, and also their active fintech subscribers that also rose by about 6.2 million, to about 10.7 million people year on year. So it just shows you that, look, in the world of data and where MTN is going into the likes of Nigeria, they are extremely performing well, and I suppose it's a good set of results from them.
Let's conclude the conversation with Pepco, which also issued an upbeat profit guidance. How are their numbers looking?
So look, I mean, they're expected to rise about close to 10%. I mean, in half-year profit, there's, budget-conscious consumers locally are flocking to discount chains such as Pep and Ackermans, obviously in the height of rising inflation. We've seen Pepco saying in their trading statement that they're expecting headline earnings per share to at least increase by about 22 to 32% in the 6 months that ended to the end of March. Now, they are looking at this better operational performance, suggesting that consumers in a country like ours that is hit by job losses, rising inflation, slower wage growth, will obviously be looking at discount chains such as Pep and Ackermans, and also that's why their numbers are looking so decent. And also remember, Pepco is also recovering from its exposure to Steinhoff shares, which obviously plunged in the whole accounting scandal that was via the investment company Business Venture Investments. Now, look, all of that has coming to the fore, but we're expecting Pepco to release their final results on the 27th of May, and that actually should give us guidance on how the business is looking over the next 9 months into the close of the year.
Matete Tulare, thank you very much for that markets update. He is the head of the foreign exchange execution at Rand Merchant Bank. Thanks.